What is foreign policy? In lower class, it is stated to you. So, the definition of a foreign policy, it is a agreement with the foreign countries in promoting and safeguarding our national interests, or we can call it is an agreement to promote and secure our national interests while establishing relations with other nations, that we call foreign policy. Here, after getting independence in the world, there was a Cold War around India's independent time. When India got independence, around that time, world split into two groups. Total world divided into two poles. One pole with the leadership of America, that is United States of America, US, and another pole with the leadership of USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So these were the two powerful poles in the world after end of the Second World War. Here, America with a capitalism trying to attract newly independent countries to join with it. Similarly, Soviet Union, erstwhile Soviet Union, also attracting newly independent countries to join with the communist Soviet Union. The ideology of Soviet Union different from American ideology. So it was the two nations very powerful, US and USSR. So these two powerful nations wanted to bring the newly independent countries under their control. They did not give much time for newly independent countries to stand on their own. There was a force of these two powerful these two powerful nations on newly independent nations. Either they should join US or USSR. So this was the situation in front of India too. So our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru at that time adopted a policy that is not joining either US or USSR. So we adopted a policy that is non-interference. It means we are not joined with US and USSR camp. Okay, that is a policy formulated by the Jawaharlal Nehru and maintained an equal distance from both the power blocks, that is US and USSR. So, not joining either of the camps made Indian foreign policy unique one. Our Prime Minister Nehru at that time also joined hands of India with several other independent countries, that is with Indonesia, Egypt, Yugoslavia. With all these countries, our India joined hands and formulated a foreign policy based on a non-aligned principle. Which principle? Non-aligned principle. Many of the nations joined this non-aligned principle, and later it turned to non-aligned movement. What is meant by non-aligned principle or movement? Align means align. Joining in a line is called align. Non-aligned in the sense not in any line. So there were two lines with two poles. One is line of US, another line is with USSR. So India, Indonesia, Egypt, and some more independent nations have followed non-aligned principle, and it turned to non-aligned movement. Okay, this movement based on a non-aligned principle, that means not joining any of the block. We maintained an equal distance from America and USSR. Our India is larger nation when compared to its surrounding neighboring countries, that is with Pakistan, with Bhutan, with Nepal, with Burma, right, with Sri Lanka. Comparing with these countries, our India is larger. So there may be chance of attack on India by all these neighboring countries, because neighboring countries are smaller than India, and they have a doubt that India may attack at any time on those nations. So they were trying to take the support of power blocks, that is US and USSR. So US and USSR, they, if they join in this South Asian countries issue, it would be trouble for India. So India wanted to give an assurance to its neighboring countries that it would not interfere in the internal matters of neighboring countries. After getting independence, immediately our India formulated an non-interference agreement called Panchashil. Which one? Panchashil policy with neighboring countries, especially with China. Panchashil is an agreement consisting of five very important principle. Punch in the sense five. Shield means a good character. So there five principles collectively called here Panchashil. This is an agreement made with the neighboring countries by India. It is based on non-interference. That means whatever so happen in Pakistan or in Bhutan, that is their internal matter. So India would not interfere in it. At the same time, the neighboring countries also not allowed to interfere in the internal affairs of India. So it is based, Panchashil is based on non-interference in the internal affairs of each others. Such assurance India given for its neighboring countries that there would not be any kind of invasion or attack on the neighboring countries. Though this much assurance is given from India through Panchashil, India faced wars. That means several nations, neighboring nations with India, have gone for war with India. The first war on India waged from Pakistan, that is in 1948, on the issue of Kashmir, which is a part of India, that was demanded by Pakistan. Pakistan tried to cede, that means occupy Kashmir from India. India clearly stated Pakistan will not get success because Kashmir is an internal part of India. So on the issue of Kashmir, a war broke out between India and Pakistan in 1948, where Pakistan was defeated. On the same issue, one more time, war broke out with Pakistan in 1960. Okay, with Pakistan, again a war broke out in 1971 over Bangladesh issue. Pakistan comprised of two parts. One is at western part of India, that is northwestern part of India. Today, what we see Pakistan, and another was what to call today what we call Bangladesh. That was western part of eastern part of Pakistan. So here the eastern part of the people suffered with the western people. They raised an issue to be separated from the Pakistan. So India supported these people, eastern Pakistan people, and finally Bangladesh, a new country, was formulated in 1971. In there, uh, in this war, we see Pakistan was defeated as it tried to suppress the revolt of the East Pakistan people, today what we call Bangladesh. And in 1962, we entered into a war with China. China wanted to violate the boundary between India and China, which we call McMahon Line. So, on the border issue, China waged war on India. In 1962, we were not prepared for war. India given importance to the peace from its beginning. After independence, we focused on peace and expanding friendly relations. There was not at all preparation for war. So we were not well prepared for the wars. We were weak instead. So in 1962, war with China, India has incurred heavy loss of human life and money instead. So several times there were wars with India and Pakistan. In 1991, Kargil War. Okay, and we see that several times Pakistan tried to enter into the what to call India regarding Doklam, uh, and with China also. Once we have come near to the war, so this was the position. So in this position, we have developed non-aligned policy. That is our key factor in the foreign policy. So our foreign policy is based on a non-aligned principle instead. So with this non-aligned principle, many of the nations joined this movement and it turned to non-aligned movement. We will discuss this non-aligned movement in separate class. So we know that Nehru was the first prime minister. So Nehru died in 1964. Okay, then it was a critical situation for India, who will lead India and how democracy would survive in India after the death of Nehru. Here, the Congress has managed a successful transition in choosing Lal Bahadur Shastri as the leader of a Congress government. Nehru belongs to Congress. In the first general elections held in 1952 and second general elections in 1957 and third general elections held in 1962. In all these three general elections, there Nehru was the prime minister. After his death, there was a critical situation for Congress that who has to become the prime minister. It was a critical time, so nobody has dared. Only they have made Congress decided that Lal Bahadur Shastri to be the leader of the Congress government. So Shastri became prime minister after the death of Jawaharlal Nehru. Understand? So as Shastri became the prime minister, he was faced many challenges. One is about fundamental values and goals of the Indian nation. That included one serious challenge, what we call anti-Hindi agitation. There, the Congress government wanted to implement Hindi as official language and national language, and this was rejected and opposed by several regional parties in their region, especially DMK, which is a regional party in Tamil Nadu. What is DMK? Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam. This is a party in southern India at Tamil Nadu launched a movement against Hindi as a official language. That movement we call anti-Hindi agitation. Okay, and this turned to a fear to the goals of unity and integrity. It became a threat to the unity and integrity of India. We faced three times war, that is two times with Pakistan, one time with China in 1960. After that, Lal Bahadur Shastri turned to the Prime Minister of India and he faced many challenges. Okay, there was a shortage of food due to the war instead. So, how to overcome this problem, that is a shortage of food in India due to the war? Second is socio-economical socio-economic transformation. There were many socio-economic issues in India that have to be transformed to bring equality in social and economic status. Second issue. Third one, there was war with Pakistan in 1960. At around this time, Lal Bahadur Shastri went to Pakistan to what to call uh, to reduce the issue between India and Pakistan. Shastri succeeded. While returning, he died instead. After the death of Shastri, Indira Gandhi turned to the Prime Minister in 1966. Okay. During Lal Bahadur Shastri period, we see that many challenges were there. All those challenges were successfully tackled by Lal Bahadur Shastri instead, who was an efficient prime minister, because nobody have come forward to become prime minister in that critical situation. All the Congress members have pushed Lal Bahadur Shastri into the post of prime minister. So Lal Bahadur Shastri taken it as a challenge and succeeded finding the solutions to it. Let us see how he succeeded in anti-Hindi agitation. Okay. See, in 1963, one act was passed by the Congress government that is called Official Languages Act. And this is an act to implement Hindi throughout India as a national language and official language. DMK party in Tamil Nadu believed this is an act, okay, brought by the Congress government to reduce the regional languages. DMK believed that it is an attempt to improve the Hindi throughout India, so that in Tamil Nadu state, DMK started a statewide campaign against imposing Hindi throughout the country. So there were many strikes, dharnas, hartals, and also burning of effigies. There is burning of what you call the dolls which are made with you know the waste material about prime minister. దిష్టి బొమ్మలు తగలబెట్టడం అంటాం, బర్నింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఎఫిగీస్, and also burnt some pages of the Indian constitution which had written in Hindi, and Hindi signboards in the states were painted with a black color. Understand? There were Hindi signboards in what to call many places. That's what to call shops where they are written with Hindi. That was painted with a black color. So this created a kind of struggle between the police and the agitators. What you call police and agitators? What are agitators? Who involved in the protest movement against the imposition of Hindi, right? Central government had taken note of this protest, and Congress also split on this issue into two groups. Some of the Congress members did not like the implementing Hindi as a language to be spoken all over India, and some those Congress members who deviated from this official languages act, they become anti-Hindi Congress members. We call them anti-Hindi camp. Remaining Congress members have accepted it, and they supported official languages act passed in 1960, and such Congress members are called pro Hindi. So Congress split into two groups. What is by Congress? Congress members. One is members belonging to pro Hindi, and other is anti Hindi camp. Some of the members felt that unity of India will be at danger if language Hindi language is implemented. So finally, we see that Shastri felt that things are going out of his hand. Okay, Lal Bahadur Shastri was the prime minister, and he felt that situation becoming very serious. He was a supporter of pro Hindi. Lal Bahadur Shastri wanted to see Hindi as an official language, but as there was a severe protest, he had come down and given certain concessions to accept the feelings of anti-Hindi agitators. Okay, so certain concessions were given, some reforms were brought to implement official languages act. Okay, what that the first one is that there the right of each state to have language of its own. Lal Bahadur Shastri given certain concessions, some exemptions. Okay, what is the flexibility? Every state is given a right to have its own language. Okay, that could be regional language or English communication could be in regional languages with English translation. The right of each state to have a language of its own. For example, Telangana. In Telangana, Telugu is the official language, which is a regional language that should be followed. And while communicating with the central government, English language should be used. English communication, or English. Communication could be in regional languages with English translation. Second is that what the second principle, second condition is that regional, that means states are given right to communicate with either regional language which is there in that state, okay, and or with the English, understand, or they can communicate with the regional languages with the English translation. That means there should be communication in regional language of a particular state, and that should be with the English translation, okay. And English should be used to communicate between center and the states. The third point, okay. First point, every state is given to have its own regional language.